Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bakes here, and thank you for joining me for my music album collection update for summer autumn 2025. If you've seen my collection update videos in the past before here on my channel, you guys would know that this is actually a little bit of a different formula and style going on here. Usually, I'd do my collection update videos in one, as in, I'd do my horror movie collection update and my music collection update in one video, and I would show off everything that I picked up in a 3 month cycle, which I'd match with the seasons, summer, then autumn, then winter, spring. But if you watched my horror movie collection update that I posted, I think 2 days ago, 3 days ago, something like that, you guys would know that I've now separated them. I'm just going to do that for a little while at least until I figure out if that works and it's easier. I thought it was a good idea for two reasons. One, to separate the audiences, as in, I know my horror movie stuff is a lot more popular here on my channel. That's fine. This is predominantly a horror movie channel. And normally when I'd be doing my collection updates, I look at the stats, everyone's watching the horror part, but then when it gets to the music, it drops. So doing two separate videos, I think it just sort of breaks it up for people who want to see one thing over another, and that's fine. But then also, with it now being a 6 month interval instead of 3 month interval for collection updates, if I did them two together, the video would have went for so long. Like, if you saw my horror movie collection update video that I posted a couple days ago, it was everything that I picked up over summer and autumn. As I said, normally it would just be over summer or autumn, 3 month cycle. Now six. Adding music to that video just would have went on forever. So now we're getting to the music side of things. Sorry for that long rambling intro. But with that being said, this is everything that I've picked up over the past 6 months. And to be honest, it's actually not that big of a haul at all. I guess I spent a lot more time picking out horror movies rather than music, which I've always been a lot more pickier with my music rather than my horror movies. But I think there's like 10 albums here total. There's one shirt that's music related that I want to show off at the end of the video. But yeah, I've actually I've had bigger hauls over a 3 month period with music compared to this 6 month, which is weird. I guess, as I said, I've just been more focused on the movies. But with that being said, this has been a long-winded intro. I'm probably just trying to pad up the runtime a little bit more, but I'm going to do this as usual, all in one take, and like I've always done with my music half of the collection updates. I'll start with new albums first, as in new albums from this current year being 2025. So let's do that pile first. We've got 5 albums here, and it's in no particular order other than these are all albums from 2025 for now. But we're starting off with what could be my favourite album of the year so far. Here we have the album Forgiving Spree by the band Slowly Slowly. Now, you guys would know that I'm a massive fan of Slowly Slowly if you've heard me speak about them on my channel before. I just think they're such a cool and underrated band, but they're forever growing. The last time I seen them live, I think it was, from memory, from what I heard at least, it's their first ever stadium tour. So just seeing them move from a small venue to larger and now a stadium, maybe not the biggest stadium. I saw them at Margaret Court, which, it's not the hugest, but every step is a cool step ahead, and that's what they're doing. And this is their newest album, like I said, Forgiving Spree, and it's definitely one of my favorites of the year so far. So if you're trying to predict my number one album by the end of the year, which I always do at the end of every year, that could be a pretty safe prediction because, as I said, it's definitely a front runner so far. I think this is the newest album released so far. Here we have the album If It Makes Sense by the band Spacey Jane. So two Australian bands back to back here. Spacey Jane is more like indie rock. I was never actually that massive on them back in the day, as in, this is a band that is like quite popular sort of in the mainstream in a way, as in they play on Triple J here in Australia, which is like indie, alternative music, but for that indie alternative scene, they're pretty mainstream and, most people would know of them. They grabbed my attention with their album before this one called Here Comes Everybody, so it made me more excited for this one. And It's probably not as good as Here Comes Everybody, but still a quite enjoyable album, so good one to pick up there. I think this one will please fans that know my taste in music. Here we have the newest album by Architects, The Sky, The Earth and All Between. This is actually the first Architects album I've ever picked up, and this is actually the first one to really like grab my attention as well. To be honest, it's kind of drifted out of rotation as the years gone on. I think this was one from February or something like that. But by all means, still not bad. Just a lot of the songs, like, I feel like have been a little bit more infectious and catchy and a bit more earwormy. Songs like Black Hole, Whiplash. But there's plenty of cool songs on here and some cool features as well, actually. So, like I said, I know a lot of my viewers who like the same type of music as I do would be very high on this one, but yeah, grabbed my attention, sort of drifted away, but still quite a good album. So there we have Architect's new one. Another one that will please my listeners, the newest album by Spirit Box called Tsunami Sea. Now, even though I actually get critiqued on this a lot whenever I bring it up with someone who has the same music taste as me, I'm not that massive on Spirit Box. As in, they're just one of those bands where when they get brought up in conversation, there's just so much hype and everybody's like, yeah, Spirit Box, Spirit Box. I really enjoy them, don't get me wrong, it's not like I don't like them or anything, else I wouldn't be picking up their stuff. I'm just not as high on them, but I was actually really excited for this album to come out, and I think it's okay. I think it's pretty solid for the most part. I don't think it's as good as Eternal Blue for now. But I'm just happy that we have another full length, because the Eternal Blue came out back in, what was that, like, it feels like a long time ago now. Then we had that EP Fear of Fear, and I was like, okay, I want another taste of a full length, and they finally dropped that with Tsunami Sea. I really like that cover art, very simple, but cool one. And then my last album that I've picked up from this year so far, this is one that I spoke about on my socials. And if you don't follow me on socials, that's fine. But this is one that kind of actually got like a lot of views just talking about this album. And I think people that stumbled across the video of me talking about this album kind of presumed that I'm very familiar with this type of music. And it's hard to not be, because it's very mainstream and whatever. But I think they sort of presumed, I don't actually listen to a lot of the stuff that I've shown so far. But anyway, this is the album Mayhem by Lady Gaga. And obviously, like I said, you need to be living under a rock to not be aware of who Lady Gaga is or have never heard her music before. So I've heard plenty of her stuff. I'm probably more familiar with majority of her discography than the stuff that I'm not. But this is actually the first Lady Gaga album that I've picked up. I was actually just really impressed by this album. This, again, kind of like Slowly, is definitely a front runner for the year. I'd probably still just edge Slowly in front for now, but again, that's probably just taste in their style over this. But there's some really cool stuff here, like Disease, Abracadabra, Garden of Eden, Perfect Celebrity. My favourite song on this album is Vanish Into You, but I'm just pretty much reading the track list from front to back right there, and it just goes to show how stacked this album is. I've been really enjoying this one. But yeah, like I said, I did like what was the video that I did on my socials? It was my favourite album of the month of whatever it came out in March, and everyone was like, yeah, oh, Lady Gaga's so good, I'm so happy that you like her too. And I'm like, oh shit, like, I just kind of like gave it a chance. Like, as I said, I was aware of her, she has some good music, and I was really impressed by it. I felt like speaking about it, and then everyone was just fucking loving that shit. Yeah, and it sort of made me a little bit uncomfortable, as in, like, I think everyone was patting my back saying, yeah, thank you for praising Lady Gaga. I'm like, oh, listen, I'm not that familiar with her on like a deep level, other than, what we hear on the radio. And as I said, I feel like I do know majority of her discography, but I don't know. As you can tell if you're new with my collection updates compared to other videos that I do, we're a lot more laid back in these ones. Alright, time to get to the 5 albums that I picked up over the past 6 months that are not from 2025. So these are just albums from past years that I enjoy listening to and I've finally got my hands on. So where will we start? We'll start with this one. This is, for the longest time, I said that this was my favourite Trash Boat album. It's called Crown Shyness. After picking up all of their discography but one album, or maybe two albums I'm missing, and just sort of listening to majority of their discography all in one, it's kind of dropped on me a little bit, but it's still definitely up there. It's sort of like, it's back when they were doing more pop punk sounding stuff, but it's still just got that heavy elements that, they've more drifted to now. But yeah, like songs like Shade, for example, like really stick out to me. Inside Out. There's some really cool songs here, so that is Trash Boat. I don't know what to show off next. I'll go with this one. I picked up Avril Lavigne's Greatest Hits. Now, obviously, it's a Greatest Hits album, so it's gonna be stacked. But I'm just gonna read this front to back. You got Skater Boy Girlfriend, What the Hell, Complicated, Don't Tell Me, I'm a Mess, He Wasn't, Losing Grip, My Happy Ending, Bite Me, Nobody's Home, I'm With You, When You're Gone, Boys Lie, Smile, Love It When You Hate Me, Rock and Roll, Here's to Never Growing Up, Keep Holding On, Head Above Water. So 20 tracks there. How fucking stacked is that? Like, there is no bad song on this Greatest Hits. And I know, again, you're saying, oh, of course there's no bad songs, it's Greatest Hits. It's designed to be like that. And I've actually said this on my channel before. I'm not a massive fan of picking up Greatest Hits albums. I prefer to just pick up, an album from a artist's discography and listen to it that way. But this is gonna sound way out of pocket considering, the type of genres that I listen to and whatever. I've never actually been the biggest Avril Lavigne fan. As in, every song there is a song that I enjoy and I do like, but like her albums as a whole, there's never been one that I've really gravitated to. So when I found this Greatest Hits album and I checked the back, I went, perfect. There's no other song that's missing that I'd want otherwise. So this album just really scratched the itch. So I picked it up. As I said, not normally a fan of Greatest Hits albums, but had to pull the trigger. All right. You can probably hear me shuffling albums around because I kind of want to think about how I'm going to approach this. So, like I said, if you're familiar with my taste in music, I like more alternative, punk, metal. Just anything that feels like a band, that's my more so go-to taste in music. But I've also said on my channel before that I don't like to pigeonhole myself. I think a lot of people don't listen to albums because they don't want to change their aesthetic, as in, I like rap, so you're not going to catch me listening to emo music, or I like heavy metal. You're not going to hear me listening to mainstream pop. A lot of people try to do that, and I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at trying not to pigeonhole myself, because you end up just listening to an album casually and being like, fuck, this is actually pretty good, and what, you're not going to listen to it just because it doesn't fit your mold. So I've been branching out a lot recently over the past handful of years. This is nothing new, but these are some albums that stuck out to me. So the first one here is Chappell Roan's album, what's it called? Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. I am a fan of Chappell Roan. She's new enough on the scene. I was a fan of this album last year. It just took me a while to get around to picking it up. But yeah, this album's just really cool. There's a lot of really cool stuff on here, and I'm really looking forward to a new album that she gives us, hopefully this year. Would be nice, but yeah, I think she gives like a cool flair that is unique and distinctive to what otherwise is sort of mainstream pop, and I think that's pretty cool. So this one's a little bit harder to make a case for, as in different from mainstream pop, but here we have Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet. I picked up the deluxe edition because there's a few songs on the deluxe edition that I really enjoy. Busy Woman to be one. That song was actually stuck in my head the other day. I keep getting the part of the song stuck in my head where she goes, "If you don't like me, I deem you gay." It's like, you can't just deem someone gay, but that's okay. I don't know, just like, I think it's more like, I don't know, just the songs are catchy, they're infectious, and I think the writing also is, it's very playful. She writes very um, sexual and for a very female perspective. But it's really cool. It's something that I can get on board with. I think if she did like 3 albums in a row like this, I think that's where it would start to wear on me a little bit. But for what I've listened to her, which has only been this album, it's not bad. Now this last one, there's a big asterisk on it, so I won't say who. Someone got this for me for my birthday, which was over this past 6 months. And I said to them, I go, I'm not really massive on this band. I'm aware of them, but I'm not massive on them. And they said, yeah, I know. I just got you this because I saw it in stores and I didn't know what else. So that's fine. It's Birds of Tokyo, which are a relatively big enough band here in Australia, and this is their album, March Fires. Like, I don't even know what it's called. Looking at the track list, there's one song here on the back. Oh no, 2 songs on the back actually, that I recognise. But otherwise, I'm not too familiar with this album. I'm not even that massive on Birds of Tokyo, to be honest. I don't really care if the person who got me this is watching, and they hear me say this. I'm not even sure if I want to keep this album. As you can tell, it's still wrapped in plastic. Like, I don't hate Birds of Tokyo, I'm just not massive on them. Maybe I'll give this album a go, and so what if it sits on my shelf. Like I've said plenty of times, I'm more selective on my music, as in horror movies, I'll pretty much pick up everything. But music, it has to, like, hit, like, a certain level for me to be like, okay, I'm going to grab this so I can re-listen to it again and again. Anyway, those are my albums that I picked up over the past 6 months. As I said, there's been 3-month intervals that I've done in the past where I pick up more albums than that. But either way, only one thing that is not an album to show off here, and as I said, it is a shirt. I almost put this shirt on, but every time I go to put on a shirt like this, I go, I can't, because I want to show off the back. But late last year, December last year, was Good Things Festival here in Australia, and I go every year. So this is my Good Things 2024 shirt. Now I'll talk a little bit about the show before I show the back and the lineup. I think a lot of people, I normally go with a certain group, and a lot of the group that I usually go with pulled out because there wasn't a lot of new bands. This was sort of like more of a throwback year. But, I just love festivals and live music in general. So even though I did feel like the lineup was lacking a little bit this year, I was still down to go. Just the environment of getting on the beers, being in the sun, walking around, meeting people, moshing, crowd surf, and just, as I said, just enjoying the live environment. It's cool. So this was the lineup this year. The only band that is on the back here that did not play is Sum 41 because, Derek got sick, and I think it was COVID or something. He got sick. But the one thing that makes me so upset about that, other than Sum 41 being a very enjoyable band for myself, is that was the last time that we probably would have seen them in Australia. So yeah, that really sucked. But let's talk about who I saw. So Korn was headlining, and I'm actually not massive on Korn, but when someone headlines and the whole, like, there's 5 stages throughout Good Things Festival, when every other stage closes and everyone swarms to Korn, even if you're not massive on them, just the environment and everything sucks you in. Sum 41, as I said, they pulled out. So who was it? It was Electric Callboy that took their spot. They were okay. The Living End, fucking awesome. They were probably my second favourite of the day. We saw a little bit of Bowling for Soup. We saw 311. We watched a little bit of, what's his name, Grandson. We saw a little bit of Dragon. But my band of the day would have been Sleeping with Sirens. Like, I don't know how they were this low on the billing. Not only did they put on a great show, they had a great set. They chose their songs very, very well. The crowd was loving it. I was loving it. I actually saw a few people there at Good Things that watch my channel. So shout out to you guys. We said a casual hello and a quick little chat. But yeah, I reckon Sleeping with Sirens were the best ones there. Alright, that is going to be it for my music album collection update for summer autumn 2025. Hopefully at the next 6 months interval, which will be my update for winter spring 2025, I'll have more albums to show off. I normally do towards the back end of the year because I'm trying to get the albums that I enjoyed through the year and make sure that there's none that I'm missing having a physical copy of. So normally the back end of the year is a little bit busier, but thank you for joining me for this video, guys. Like I said, I don't expect this collection update compared to my horror movie one to do as well, but that's okay. Like I said, splitting it was for two reasons. One, to accommodate for either audience, you know, the people that like my horror stuff and the people that like my music stuff, and if you like both, then there's two videos for you to watch, I don't know. But then also, just, as I said, I had 6 months of horror movies to show off in my horror movie collection update, doing that for the music, with the music added to the back. That video, I think it went for like 55, 56 minutes, like it would have went for over an hour, and that's too much. But yeah, thank you for joining me for this video, guys. If there's anything you want to talk about with these albums, let me know in the comments below. If there's any albums that you want me to check out from this year, for example, leave them in the comments below. I've been pretty good at that, people dropping albums and going to check them out and whatever. And there's been some good recommendations, other ones haven't really clicked with me, but I like the input either way. So thank you for joining me, guys, for this collection update video, and I'll see you for another video soon. Peace.